Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. So today is finally the day where I'll show you how I made the pumpkin dolls. I'm so happy with them, and I've actually made 3 of them after I made the original one. I loved it so much, and I'm going to be putting these on my Etsy shop. The link to that will be down in the description. So many people asked me about them and that sort of stuff. I was going to be making a pattern. I've almost nailed it. It's just getting down to like the clothing bits that I'm kind of adjusting, and I don't want to put it out until I'm ready. So maybe that's going to be a next year thing. I don't know, but I'm very happy with how they've turned out. And like I said, these 3 exact ones will be on my store as kind of one of a kind pieces. Got to put them over on my like cutesy kind of Etsy. I was going to put them on eBay or something like that, but to keep it simple for me, at least where orders come through for me, I know they come on there. So yeah, I've just put them on there, and I put the link down in the description. So yeah, just in case you wanted to check them out. But the dolls themselves are absolutely gorgeous. Throughout this video, I'm going to be showing you tips and tricks, how I put them together, kind of the rough basis of them, obviously just without the pattern. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we will have that next year, which sounds a little bit crazy, but I'm sure it will fly by. I definitely want to work on a kind of Christmas alternative, considering I'm almost there. But are you ready to see them? Oh, I love them. They're all one of a kind. They're all very similar, obviously. They've got different little things on top, little stems, which I would have shown you in the last video. If you want a really, in-depth tutorial on them, on the little stalks on top, I'll show you how I make those. Again, link down in the description. They've got different badges on, different clothes, and yeah, really love them. So if you want to see how I made them, get some tips and tricks, maybe even making your own, then definitely carry on watching, and I'll meet you back here and give you a close-up at the end.
Okay, so the way that I actually made these, like I said, I did make a pattern, but the basic kind of shape, as you can see here, I used was just this like eye-like shape is the way that I've been calling it. Now, if you want to know how to make like your own pumpkin and that sort of stuff, I do have a tutorial which I'll link down below. It's basically just the same sort of thing for that. To make the head of the pumpkin doll, I just made 6 segments for this particular size. I know a lot of people do either 4 or 5, but I went with 6. I just felt like that just suited the little boys better. So yeah, I did 3 of these basically on 1 piece of fabric, making sure that it was doubled, and then I just went ahead with my sewing machine and just stitched those all together just by going down one side of each, kind of like 2 at a time, so that I was able then to add up all 3 of them to make the little pumpkin head. On one of them I did leave around about an inch gap so that I was able to turn the kind of like piece the right size way around, and once I had done that I was then able to stuff it. So for these pumpkin dolls I did actually use a wool stuffing, just because I have a ton of that kicking around, and it's something that like my medicine and like packages get delivered to me all the time, like temperature controlled ones, so I thought I'd best put that to use rather than wasting it. And yeah, the wool kind of stuffing actually worked really nicely in these and made it really nice and dense, which I felt like was a really good touch with these pieces, because they're like quite obviously primitive kind of style dolls, and it just gave it that extra kind of like luxurious, like almost like primitive old school kind of feel. I really like it, like that really nice quality handmade kind of finish, and yeah, worked out really nicely. So I stuffed these with the wool stuffing. You can obviously use polyfill if you have that and you're making something like this, but yeah, that's what I did just because I have it on hand. So once I obviously had the pumpkin head stuffed all up and everything like that, I made sure it was like nice and dense and stuff. Then I just hand stitched that opening closed nice and neat along the kind of seam there, so that that kind of just carried on around and all of the stuffing was nice and secure in there. Once I had finished the head, I then actually moved on and painted up like another piece of fabric. This is just a thick cotton with acrylic paints with some fabric medium kind of mixed in, and I just did like the candy corn patterns. I do have some fabric candy corn decorations videos DIY thing coming very soon, so definitely stay tuned for that. I basically just did this nose in the same way, just painted on the 3 stripes, cut it out, just like roughed it up a little bit, and then I just did some hand stitching, like quite visible ones, so that it looked more handmade and primitive again. I just did that with like the same brown kind of thread that I stitched up the head with. I then used the same thread again just to add some glass bead eyes, and I did obviously one either side of the nose like I should be, but I made sure that when I did this they were slightly indented and pulled into the face. I just felt like that gave the character just a little bit more like character. It just, I don't know, I think it may look cute, so I managed to pull in the beads a little bit so that they indented into the pumpkin head, and that looked really nice. I thought, like, can you see them? Look how cute they are. I just love them. I also went ahead and hand stitched on a little mouth underneath the candy corn nose, and that was basically just the face part done. Moving on to the body, I basically just did like a rounded trapezium-like shape, quite thick, almost looks like a little potato to be honest. Just sewed front and the back together on my sewing machine with around about 2 to 3 inch gap along the base so that I could stick the legs in at another time. This again was just like set to the pattern that I've been working on, and it's definitely something that I aim to release in the future, but yeah, bear with me on that. But once I had that shape all kind of sorted, turned the shape the right size way around and just went ahead again with the wool stuffing, just stuff that down. In order to weight down the piece, I did actually use an old grip fill bag with some aquarium stones in. Now this is what I like to use instead of like poly pellets. I know a lot of people when making art toys and stuff, they like to use poly pellets, like the little plastic ones, but I've been steering away from using plastic pellets because who wants a whole load of plastic in their stuff? And obviously you don't need to use more plastic if you don't need to. I know some people have been using like rice and stuff, but I don't feel comfortable putting rice in things. Like, what if it gets wet? What if mold gets in there? I don't know. So what I like to do is I like to use little mini stones. I usually put them in a bag or something like that to keep them in there so that there's no chance of them escaping. So yeah, that's what I did. I put a little bag of them in just to weight it down a little bit so that when it sits down a lot nicer. This is something that I've done for a long time and it's always worked out absolutely fine for me. And yeah, it's something that some people do use instead of using the little kind of plastic pellets or glass pellets. But yeah, the little aquarium stones, great tip there. If you're going to be into toy making or like doorstop making, a lot of people use them for those. With the legs, I ended up getting the leg pieces just the same as the arm pieces here that I'm doing. I just stitched those down onto the sewing machine, stuffed them with just the same wool stuffing again, and the raw edges I stuck them into the very bottom of the body and then hand stitched that all shut so they were all secure and into the body. So yeah, with the arms I just took the same sort of technique again. I used this wooden dowel to help turn it the right size around. This definitely takes a lot of like, you know, going back and forth, a little bit of effort, but you know, it gets there in the end. Once I had obviously turned the piece the right size around, I actually ironed it at this point, and then I just stuffed it with wool stuffing, just small bits at a time so it didn't clump up. And then again, back in with the hand stitching, I just hand stitched that to the body. Now I tried to do like invisible stitching and like, you know, obviously as neat stitching as possible, making sure that all the raw edges of the fabric were facing inwards, no stuffing was hanging out, anything like that. Once I'd done that, it was then onto the clothing. This is where it always gets tricky, especially with this little doll, because obviously the head is so big, you can't make a freestanding shirt because it can't go over it, so it kind of almost has to be made to the body of the piece unless you end up putting velcro in or like buttons. But I wanted to keep it simple, so I actually just like hand stitched the shirt onto the doll. So the shirt of these isn't removable, but the dungarees is. But we'll get into that into a second. But to make the shirt, I just like, you know, made this kind of like smock bit and then hand stitched it over the shoulders to make the shoulder parts. Then I hand stitched on some shirt sleeves, and then in order to like finish those off, I actually just folded up the kind of cuffs of the sleeves to kind of make them a little bit more rustic looking, and I felt like that worked out really well. As you can see here, just hand stitching on each of those sleeves, and I did make sure to like not attach this to the like doll itself, like not going through it, just making sure that it's like standalone. And there you go, that I'm folding up the little sleeves. Just not like you needed to see that, but that's what I did. I just felt like that just gave it a little bit more of a casual touch, and it fit a lot better, and I just think it looks so cute. So once I had the shirt done, I then moved on and I actually made the dungarees, again using the pattern that I've been working on, but I will show you the sort of shape that I kind of went with, like this shape. Do you see that? I basically just have 2 of those, stitch them along the curved edge to begin with, and then like squish it around the other way and do kind of like a V shape to make the dungarees. I put in loads of different, you know, hand kind of stitched pieces, so I ended up hand stitching on a pocket to the very front of the dungarees, just like so, and I hand stitched on buttons to the dungaree straps and hand stitched those to the actual dungarees themselves. For the little pumpkin boy's feet, I actually used fabric paint, so just acrylic paint with some fabric medium in, and I actually heat set that down with a heat gun. This is what I usually do when using fabric paint. Make sure that it's all on there, it's not going to be going anywhere, you can wipe it off and everything, and a heat gun not only dries it but it also heat sets it at the same time. So yeah, that's what I did there. Then I added a few final touches to the boots as well, so I did a couple of stitches, like cross stitches on there with the same brown thread that I stitched the bodies like up with, so it was all kind of like coordinating, just an extra touch. Doesn't need to be on there, but I think it just looks adorable. More finishing touches, I added a little kind of like fancy frilly collar in the same fabric as I did each of the shirts. So this one here is like in the like really dark black navy kind of color, like check, and I just hand stitched that all the way around the neck of the shirt. And yeah, I just think that looks so good, like so good. That's obviously not going to be able to be removed, but the dungarees are, like, you can definitely just like slip over one of, like, you know, well, both of the little kind of straps and it comes off. The buttons are fully attached and it's like not able to be removed that way. They're just for decorative purposes, but they do remove and the dungarees can come off. For the finishing touches, I just added on some homemade little kind of miniature badges, which I'll show in a second, and I made the stems for the tops of the head as well, which the tutorial will also be linked down in the description if you haven't checked that out already.
Look at me with all my boys. Okay, so final touches today. I just attached the stems to the top and I also attached some little kind of badges. I like them to look like badges on there, but they are actually fully secure. On this one here, he's got a little candy corn. That one there, a little tiny mini pumpkin, and I've made a little mini ghost on that one. Isn't it adorable? I may as well just show you that closer. Okay, do you see it? The little ghost has even got cute little eyes on it. So this one here is the black and white. Actually, it's more of like a navy black kind of check pattern going on there. He's got little cord dungarees. The pocket is functional. It's got little kind of buttons sewn on there. They're so sweet, like little mother of pearl ones. On the back, it's all looking good with the hand stitching again. It's got the hand stitching down on the little boots. I just adore it. I've hand stitched around like the candy corns to make them look a little bit more primitive. Then on the next shoe, this one here has the same dungarees on, but he has like a little kind of purpley, reddy and green kind of check on that. Same sort of pattern, but definitely a different material. Then it's got the little pumpkin. Again, the pocket is workable and it just looks the same on the back. I did the stitch on this one white, kind of like so you could see it. The pockets are hand stitched on just to make them look a little bit more primitive again. And then with this one here, he's got the same kind of like shirt and little kind of collar bit as the last one, but then he has the little kind of velvet dungarees, which is the one that my Clarence the doll has, and he has little kind of like brown crosses on there to match the little boots, a little brown hand stitching around the pocket, and then a little candy corn. Oh, that's so cute. I kind of wish mine had a candy corn on now, but like look at that, that's so sweet. And this material is so soft. The little stems on there, really nice and attached, like they're not going anywhere. And yeah, that's the pumpkin dolls. Look, I can't believe I made them. These ones here feel pretty good, like nice and solid, nice and chunky. In the bottom, I've obviously put those little stones in, so then when they sit down, they'll just prop up a little bit. Kind of nice. Look, do you see? The arms stick out, but I think that looks kind of cute. I suppose you could like position them in, put something on there. But yeah, they do have a tendency to stick out, but I like it. They look kind of scarecrowy. But yeah, that's that. I love them. I'm so happy with them. So glad I made them. Like I said, there will be a pattern coming. I'm hoping to get it this year, but chances are I probably won't, because I've got right into the thick of it, doing videos and everything at the moment, and pattern making now is just like taking me forever. And also Christmas is coming up and my actual like shop is going to be nuts. And oh my goodness, so much going on. I have itchy nose because my hair is just like driving me nuts. But yeah, thanks so much for hanging out with me today. Thanks so much for tuning in, just like in general. And I'm going to go now. So yeah, like I said, they will be on the Etsy shop if you want to get one of them. They will be a little bit more on the pricier side because in all honesty, they probably took me 10 to 12 hours hands-on each. So that's a lot of time to factor in. And to be honest, it was a labor of love. So they need a little bit of money to come back. Not obviously paying me a wage or anything, but yeah, there's that. So I hope you'll have a fantastic day, and I'll see you very soon for another one. Bye.